welcome to this new analysis on the tactical square. I will talk about the match of Qatar versus Lebanon. I have a magical board and I will show you the problems that have been faced here by this team of Qatar. What are the problems that has faced this team of Qatar? Um, what the problems that caused the team of Lebanon? I will focus, to be honest, on this team of Qatar with the coach Felix Sanchez. So uh, without any transition, we are going to enter now in the subject, and I will talk about this team of Qatar that has played with as you can see, 4-1, 4-1, 4-1, 4-1 against the shape of 5-4-1 defensively, and offensively it was more a 3-4-2-1. But speaking, so box four. But speaking about this team of Lebanon, I didn't see the much the box four. I didn't see the much the box four. I didn't see the support of the fullbacks. I didn't see that. I saw a team that is playing mid block and the deep block with very wide wingers. So I didn't see that some players that called. I didn't see the position. I didn't see the proximity of players to create the overload. I didn't see any of this from Lebanon. It was they had chances, they had counter attack, and I will show you why they had chances and they had counter attack, because Qatar was making for themselves the match very difficult. Yes, the match very difficult. I will talk about this because, as you can see here, you have the goalkeeper and the striker of Lebanon was here with Madibo. So he let Bassam and Tariq Salman. Of course, I will talk about the players. Tariq Saad Shib, Pedro on the right, Bassam, Tariq Salman, Al Ali, Afif, Boudiaf, and Boualam on the midfield with Madibo, of course, as I say, and as I just said now, the right Haidous, the striker Moyes. So basically, Qatar made it difficult for themselves. Why? Because the fullbacks weren't joining. The two wingers here, Haidous and Afif, were not calling in between the fullback and the center back in order to create what, to make them come back, to make them come back. No, and it was first of all it was the L shape with this Boudiaf here with Madibu. Boualam, okay, was nice because, as you can see, L shape. It's an L shape, what we call a L shape. Boualam was good in reading the game without the ball, in having the space, in playing, and always offering a solution, recovering the ball, covering Haidous, covering Pedro sometimes. Uh, yeah, he was good. But the problem with Boualam, actually, I noticed two balls. He played it backward. Two times Boualam played it backward to Madibu while recovering it. The reference for him was Madibu. So the reference, sometimes you have Al Haidous here in the pocket, you have Afif in the pocket, but he played backward. This was two times, but for me, two times too much. And but instead of that, Boualam played a good match. Instead of that, let's not count this. He played a good match and he did well in a lot of things. And this is a small detail that can be solved. So Qatar here, as you can see with the L shape, I was talking about the L shape, and they didn't progress. Here Lebanon was very happy because they were having a mid block. The two center backs of Qatar were low in my point of view. The fullbacks were not getting an advantage against their direct opponent, which is the wingers, the wingers of Lebanon, and no rotation in the midfield. And what when you don't have rotation, where your fullbacks are not pushing enough, when your strikers are not pushing enough, what do you have? The opponent team, as you can see, we didn't see this. We saw just Hafif here, and Al Haidous here. Al Afif sometimes came here, but Boudiaf didn't join here. So the rotation between Afif and Boudiaf was not good, and the fullback didn't take I'm talking about the first 15 minutes and the first 13 minutes also of this first half. So no rotation in this midfield, a weak position, and Lebanon started to gain some meters, started to play, the center back started to play far from their box, they started to gain meters. Maybe if the Lebanon, if for example the instruction was to be 5 meters far from their or 8 meters far from this box, now they were 15 meters far or 20 meters far. So they started winning position and they started to be very high. And here Boudiaf and Madibu were trapped, and they didn't find a solution. They didn't find any solution to pull back these wingers in the first 30 minutes, and this was problematic for me. And Lebanon had some counterattacks. Lebanon scored a goal that was clear for a foul. That was a silly foul. They could have scored, for example, they could have profit from enjoyed these spaces that this has been given by Qatar, enjoyed this lack of rotation in the team of Qatar, and they could have done so much damage. And I think that was a problem for me in this in Qatar, and Lebanon didn't get the best of it. So I will talk about, for me the solution was Boudiaf to be here, to forget about the L shape and to be with a V shape, and that Bassam drag the ball or Tariq Salman drag the ball. Here at least you don't have to be three for one player. Bring one of the center midfielders, bringing him on Bassam, and play a 3v2 as you can see here on the right side with Pedro, with Boualam, with Bassam, and to find, for example, Al Haidous in the pocket to free the space here for Afif to be 1v1 with the striker, and of course on the other side to be with Boudiaf also here, for example, that he will do the job of here to be in the midfield for some counter pressing purposes, and the left back will be very high since Pedro is here, and of course profit from this type since Madibu is here. Okay, you can have done this, but the solution came from Sanchez differently, and it was brilliant also. I think that Sanchez did a good thing when he allowed, as you can see, I will bring them back for here, Madibu with Boualam Boudiaf, Lucia. So he played with the left back in the midfield, as you can see with Man City, and he didn't allow the right back to move on a lot for some counter pressing purposes. And Boudiaf and Afif started to rotate good, and this allowed. And Lebanon, I don't know why, after this goal that has been refused by the referee, they came back to a deep block, and Qatar started to have occasions, started to have things, and the active area was on the left, and Al Hatem, and from this area came the goal. We will see it in the second half. This was very important. So Al Ali, when Al Ali is here, he allowed Al Afif to be very high, and he allowed the right winger. He doesn't know what to do anymore. Drag him, be on Boudiaf, be on Afif. So this always free the space and bring the two centers here, and of course you have a gap here that has been given, and from this gap came the goal in the second half. This is the way that Qatar did. I think that the left back being inside allowed Boudiaf to be very high, allowed Afif to have this rotation, allowed to free the spaces between the lines. And I think that in the second half, when Felix Sanchez changed Boudiaf, yes, he was right on doing this, and you saw the goal of Qatar. So Qatar solved this problem with the left back inside. And in the second half, in my point of view, it was right also to change Al Ali, because the active area now is on the left. So when the active area is on the left, on the left side, Abdul Karim Hassan enjoyed a lot of spaces. But let's talk about first about before talking about those spaces, what led Qatar to have those spaces is also Lebanon did some damage to themselves when they changed their formation from 5-4-1 5-4-1 defensively to 4-1-4-1 like Qatar to do some equal game, but they weren't equal. Why? I will talk why. Since the wingers of Lebanon were high, they weren't defending. So Lebanon always defended with three, and you can imagine in this active area of you have Al Haidous joining. Okay, Boualam was covering. You have the left back that is joining. You have Afif. You have Hatem. You have Muaz. So Lebanon was always defending with three players here. So the gap was always on the right. Always this problem because when they were defending with these wingers that were off defensively, and this led Qatar to have spaces, and they controlled the counter attack with Pedro not moving inside too much, with Madibo here on the left always the superiority and the overload goes to Qatar. So now the only problem the goal came just I said by Hatem. The only problem, and Abdul Karim Hassan profit from these spaces that have been given by Lebanon. The only problem is that Qatar sometimes, when they come back with Tariq Salman that has played a big match, no doubt about that, is that Tariq Salman tend to play on the right, while on the right you don't have the overload. For me, this is a problem because you play to a place when you don't have where you don't have the overload, and you can lose the ball if and if you lose the ball, sorry, because you don't have the overload, it can be damaging in the counter pressing where you will not be there. You have to insist. It's not because they come back here that you have to change the side. No, sometimes you have to come back on the left to inside to make the gaps bigger, and then when the gap is big enough, you go on the other side, just like the goal of Hatem. So but Qatar, you have to give them credit for keeping the structure. This young team kept the structure. They played really good, and I wait to see much more from Qatar, and they played really good. Big personality from Bassam taking this free kick. Yes, it was an average match from Bassam. If you know his potential, his real potential, he can do much better. But taking the responsibility at the 65 minutes of the match and scoring, for me, you have to have some personality to do that. So yeah, big credit for all the guys. At the end, Al Haidous came out and Ala came in, but Qatar kept the structure. Lack of patience, as I said, just play where the overload is, and it can be much better tomorrow against North Korea. Thank you very much. It was Amin Namora in the tactical square that is not just about squares, it's also about triangles, hexagon, etc. Thank you very much.